702.
World of Work.
So on our World of Work feature today, we are talking about ways you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks. Because careers rarely move in a straight line. Something is always bound to happen, right? There are highs and lows. There are highs that fuel your confidence. You've got lows that test your resilience. And we live in a country and a world with challenging economic climate. You've got retrenchments, restructuring, slow economic growth, jobs not being created enough. I mean, many professionals are finding themselves navigating career setbacks that they didn't plan for. And I would like you to share with us what your career setbacks have been and how have you dealt with that? How have you navigated that? And maybe for you, it's a missed promotion or a job loss, burnout, or maybe you're feeling stuck at work, because that can leave some people, even those who are most driven, questioning their worth and direction, right? So please let me know how you've dealt with career setbacks, because the thing about them is they can also reveal new strengths. Yes, they are painful, but they can also be a powerful turning point. They can force you to redefine your success, to remind you that growth isn't always going to be the way that you imagined it to be. So have you had a career setback, and how did you manage to keep motivated while facing those challenges? 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Dr. Sharon Munyaka is an organisational psychologist who's going to guide us through this conversation. Thank you for making time for us. Dr. Munyaka, good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to all your listeners.
Let's start with just understanding from a psychological perspective what actually happens to a person's sense of identity and motivation when their career takes an unexpected hit.
So the reality is, for a lot of us, our work is closely tied to who we are. So try and imagine, when you're saying or introducing yourself to people, some people lead with, I am the CEO of this, I am an engineer, I am a chartered accountant. So already that tells you the issue around identity. So now when all of this gets disrupted, it's not just about the job. It's also your identity, and you start saying, so who am I really? Do I have value? What is the direction? But the reality, friends, is that, your identity isn't fixed. Yes, it take a wobble, but you can rebuild. And so that's how the psychological impact shows up for people when it comes to work.
How do we define a career setback, though? Because for some people, the stuff that they experience, they would argue that it's just part of the stuff that you will experience in the workplace. I wouldn't really define that as a setback. Does it always have to be something dramatic, like a job loss? Or can it also include feeling stuck or feeling unfulfilled or uninspired?
So you're absolutely right. It could be outgrowing your role or realizing that what you once thought motivated you no longer does. So we all go through seasons in life. And so there are those quieter forms of disappointment, which can be as powerful. Maybe you were overlooked for a promotion. Maybe you didn't get the acknowledgement that you thought you would get for a project you were busy with. So all of those things kind of chip away. And it's really so powerful because we are different. And because we are different, the impact of these shifts will show up in different ways.
So how common in your experience are these challenges in the current job climate now in South Africa? And would you say that they're becoming more frequent as work environments change?
Absolutely. If you think about, hybrid work, here I am traveling and dialing into your show. So if I am working from home, something happens. Maybe I have a small child, I didn't sleep well, right? That impacts how I work, right? Economic pressure. A slight shift to my income takes a hit and it impacts how things are. So what we're finding is that the workplace has become less predictable. than it used to be. And people are having to rethink and reevaluate, like, so what is stability? And what would success look like? So COVID was also a testing ground for us and our ability to cope with that massive change. So with that discomfort, we're saying to people, okay, what needs to be let go of? What do you need to rebuild? What do you need to be rethinking in terms of the season that you find yourself? So it's actually more common than you actually think.
So it's very easy, of course, for us to say, yeah, when you face a career setback, just maintain that motivation. Easier said than done. What are some of the most common emotional responses you see when people face a career disappointment, and whether it's a job loss or there's a missed promotion, as you said, or burnout, someone is feeling stuck? What's the best way for them to respond? I'm hoping you can give them some tools as well, some framework of sorts, so that they know how to keep themselves motivated, how to still, be motivated and be encouraged to keep on going.
So, great question. As humans, we go through a range of emotions. That's part of our human experience. So you can expect anger, you can expect sadness, and sometimes even shame. Because we started off with saying, if my job is tied to my identity and then it's taken away or something shifts, I am going to feel shame. And so it's important to first name it. If we don't name what you're experiencing, it's really difficult to start making a shift. You might actually feel lost or anxious, but emotions are data, right? And what they're telling you is what matters. So running away is not going to help you. So I often say to people, just stop. Just stop and say, what is happening? What am I noticing? So if, for example, you're someone who doesn't struggle with falling asleep, all of a sudden, because of what's going on at work, you wake up several times. That is the data. And what you need to do is confront that. So it could be having a conversation with your line manager. It could be going to your human resources department and saying, what are my options? I didn't get that promotion. What else? Getting feedback. So I didn't perform well. I missed the target. What do I need to do differently? Maybe it's skills that you need to get. What are the options available to me? Yeah. And also, you are not a tree. You can move if it gets too hot in that area you find yourself.
And I know you often talk about emotional agility, how some people can use that concept to manage their emotions after a setback instead of being consumed by them. We'll talk about that after the break. I've got some WhatsApps coming through as well from our listeners who are sharing their own experiences on 072 702 1702, 16 after 11.
702. World of Work.
19 minutes after 11 o'clock. What setback have you experienced in your career? How did you manage to keep motivated while you face that? We're discussing how you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks. Whether you are feeling stuck at work, whether you missed a promotion, whether there's a job loss, there's burnout, because that's life, right? Things are going to happen, but how do you deal with that? Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Clement and your guest. So here from Soshanguve. I was an auditor before, and because of health reasons, had to leave my job. Well, yeah, I had to leave my job because, my mental health was deteriorating. But now it's been more than a year after leaving the job, and I'm doing job as a general assistant because the market has no jobs, especially jobs at my level. I was an assistant manager. So I tried looking, for alternate jobs in the accounting field, in financial accounting or management. But now that I'm working in this job, I realized that I miss my passion. Auditing was my passion, and it's something that really doesn't sit well with me. But I'm learning to accept my position right now because there are really no jobs, and I'm learning things now in the business that I'm working in that I wouldn't learn in the audit because it's more practical and Yeah, I think that's the silver lining, but I really miss my passion, and there's a lack of fulfillment without that. Yeah, thanks.
Oh,
This
thank
is
you.
again from Soshanguve.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Anonymous also on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, I changed jobs about 2 years ago. The new job is in line with what I studied, but it's very junior. I now feel stuck. I aspire to be in a senior position, but I just don't know how to make the transition, especially from a junior position. Dr. Munyaka, some advice here for these listeners?
So thank you very much for stepping into courage and actually looking for other opportunities. I think that's the first step towards just doing work differently. So no skills are ever for nothing. Even if you're in a junior position, remember there's a season for everything. So take the learning and say, what is portable from what I learned before? And how do I take this learning into other opportunities? It's also around perspective. You have to look at it as this is part of the journey. What am I needing to refine? Maybe I'm needing to do more resting. I'm needing to clarify my purpose. So use this season to really define who am I and how am I going to do things differently in the future. But keep going. I think it's fantastic that they looked at other options.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are other people, in fact, many people who feel embarrassed to talk about career failure. And I wonder, Dr. Munyaka, if it's important to at least begin there where you acknowledge what the problem is. Like if you feel, oh, I'm in a junior position, I should be in a senior position, or I regret leaving the other job as an auditor because now I'm stuck in this position, which is also a junior, or I missed a promotion. How important is it to acknowledge the situation that you are facing? Does that help in at least getting you to a point where you can deal with that then and find, a framework to be able to respond to that feeling of disappointment or even that feeling of embarrassment or shame?
Absolutely. Acknowledgement is everything. And earlier you spoke about emotional agility. And here it's about noticing your emotions without becoming them. So yes, I may feel that I have failed, but don't take on the identity of I am a failure. It is not you. You feel disappointed because your identity has shifted. You feel disappointment that you're taking on a lower ranking role. So putting distance between taking on an identity helps you. It helps you to respond with perspective rather than reacting impulsively. Because guess what? Your courage in taking on a lower role, which puts bread on the table, is going to empower someone else who might be struggling. So there it's important to name the feeling, take back the control. Yes, I am feeling this right now, but it doesn't define me because it's all about emotional maturity and it starts with acknowledgement.
What's the role of gratitude then? And even self-compassion in helping people regain that motivation? Because I find that sometimes the reason things are so difficult for us to deal with them is we think like that is the end of the world. So yes, you may be in a junior position, but you still have a job in a country where millions and millions, over 10 million people are unemployed. And yes, you may not be an auditor or a broadcaster anymore, but you still have opportunities to even work towards getting back to that field. So is it important for us to be grateful even in the moments where we think we have experienced setbacks? Or is that toxic positivity,
Absolutely.
so to speak?
So that's where the acknowledgement piece comes in, because then you have perspective. And when we are grateful and we extend self-compassion, it starts to help us focus on what is still working because energy follows attention. If I keep beating myself up about how much I've failed, I won't have the capacity to update my CV. I won't have the energy to ask for help. But if I reframe and change what I'm saying to myself that, okay, I am here now, but this is not how the story ends. It gives me the fuel to say, okay, update your CV. Start speaking up. Let people know what you are good at and start connecting with networks that could help change your situation. So gratitude for every conversation, for every job opportunity is going to be the currency that supports you to get to your next gig.
And some people are just scared to start over, Dr. Munyaka. You know, there are people whose career paths no longer align with their values or strengths, but they just fear starting over. What advice would you give to someone who is in a situation like that, or someone who just doesn't feel fulfilled anymore by their work? But they're so scared that if I start over, or if I really do go into business, or if I do try this different industry, I'm just not sure what it's going to lead to. So that uncertainty gives them anxieties. So you're stuck with the job that you're no longer fulfilled by, or that no longer serves you or even aligns with your values. But then you're also filled with anxiety because you don't want to go out there and try and do something else because the economic climate is just not conducive.
So data is going to be helpful there. You need data that tells you, I am good at this. I wasn't so great in these particular skills. This is the help that I need. So when you tell yourself the truth, and truth is not only going to come from you because you're scared, you're anxious, look for people you can trust. If you had opportunities to get a performance review done, that's also another helpful data point. Also, look at yourself in the mirror. If you were that person who was supposed to have completed certain tasks and you never did, it's time to change. It's time to take accountability, because that's going to help you to actually start to craft a new way from where you've been.
Yeah. And for those that are in a leadership position, what role can they play to support employees that are stuck? How can managers support employees who are demotivated or are struggling after a career disappointment?
So our leaders play a big role within, the space that people find themselves. Having a performance agreement is something that's going to be important. Creating spaces where someone can truthfully come and say, I don't know how to do this anymore. I thank you for this opportunity, but I no longer feel connected to the cause. So create spaces where people can actually have the courage to give honest input. And also extend empathy, because when people feel supported, they can come back more loyal, they can be more creative and more motivated, because maybe there's something going on with their health, maybe their personal circumstances have shifted. So a leader plays a big role in terms of creating safety for people to speak up.
Got it. And that one mindset shift that you wish every professional could make when it comes to failure or resilience, what would that be?
This is not how the story ends. It's just part of your life journey. So you get the opportunity to write another chapter. Keep going.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming through, Dr. Sharon Munyaka, organisational psychologist. In fact, I've got a message here from Gabro, who says, hey, Clement and 702, I just want to appreciate your guest. She's talking a lot of sense and so inspiring and encouraging. I'm one of those people that are frustrated, but she's actually putting more life into my life. Yeah, Gabro, thank you so much for those kind words for Dr. Munyaka. And I hope that you'll come out of that situation a much better person, having learned so much. Thank you for your message. It's 11:30.